Okay, all right. We got to talk about Blue Origin and the crazy space trip that they supposedly took. I guess many of you guys probably already saw this. And, depending on where you are in the whole flat Earth versus sphere Earth versus, is space real and all this stuff, it's got everybody arguing about all this stuff. And I didn't know if you guys had really even seen what was going on with any of this. If you have, then my apologies. We're going to look at it again a little closer just because I'll bring to the table a little bit what I think about this whole thing. And then, you guys are welcome to mention it in chat. I had the chat turned off, by the way, on the video tonight. Let me turn it back on and see if we're getting the same craziness that we were getting before. I think we are. Yeah, so if you look at the chat here, you'll notice that for whatever reason it's happened the last few weeks, that we can see the chat on the screen, but it is repeating many of the same posts over and over again. And it's been doing that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I've just left it rolling. But I think I've filed a bug report on the live stream software that I use. I think it's just a bug. It's not a big deal here, but I wanted to mention that is why the chat is turned off on the show tonight. It's just because it's not really functioning 100% like it should. It's supposed to continually update the chat as it's actually happening and burn it into the screen like we're seeing there. But what's happening is, though, it's repeating every post, and then at some point it just stops. It doesn't continue repeating the new post. It just stops, and you have, just the same last few posts that were sent. So anyway, yeah, it says, let's see. Got a couple comments over here on Rumble saying the YouTube chat is unusable. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, you're describing something slightly different. You're talking about censorship. What I'm talking about here isn't really YouTube's fault. This is the live stream software that I'm using. Like you see, the last thing that just popped up there was a message from Emily, and it's on there twice. And all of them are on there twice. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that that's why I'm leaving it turned off tonight, is just because, well, number one, you can see more of my screen. But it's not really functioning right. So anyway, I wanted to mention that. And if you guys want to comment, though, on this whole Blue Origins thing, feel free to do that. This whole thing is really nutty. But let's just watch a little bit of this video. If you didn't know what happened, basically, Jeff Bezos's company launched, at least supposedly, launched a rocket that was very interestingly shaped. Let's just put it that way. Only six women aboard, and shot them up into space, and then they basically just fell back down to Earth. And then that was all. That was all there was to it, really. And this is a little bit of the video here that I had queued up. This is on Wits Gets It, which is a YouTube channel that I follow. And I thought we would just listen to just a few minutes of this here.
Katie!
What are you doing?
That's Katy Perry, by the way, the singer.
Thank you. Thank you. Amanda!
It's just like, I gotta call it like it is, man. It's like just so gay. Like they just need so much attention. Like, can we have a real conversation for a second? You got some dudes in there, bro. They're gonna like sit in there. They're definitely not gonna be thinking about what reels they can make and like the IG stories and let's say cute little poems and what can I put on social media. They're gonna look out the windows and talk about what's going on, and they're probably not gonna be so likely to have to each have their huge dramatic entrance and exit. They want the whole world to look at them. But can we just call it like it is? Yeah. This is why the world was just like not feeling this at all. Like, in all these people's mind, like the world revolves around them. Like, life is a movie about them.
Oh my gosh!
It's just all so lame. So basically, you know, everyone's saying at the least that believe all these official stories. It's like these people, you know, they're being propped up like they did something all amazing and serious, and they made a whole big, you know, spectacle out of it. And they're just like kind of detached. They don't understand that this is super lame. All right. Anyway, I don't even care to watch any more of this, to be honest. This is all like a publicity stunt, right?
Proud of you.
And that they're intentionally lying to people and misleading them, making them think that they went to outer space and floated.
Okay, well, anyway, you guys got the idea. You know exactly what happened. Yeah, fakest garbage I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, the whole thing was so crazy, and what this guy's saying here is exactly right. The all-female crew, talking about the sisterhood and all this stuff, it is super cringy. And now, here's my kind of 2 cents that I'll chip in here, and you can agree or disagree. It doesn't matter to me, really. Personally, I think some elements of it probably were real. I think that the rocket liftoff and all of that, even though at times it does look a little fake, I must admit, I think that is more addressed in how they shot it, in the camera angles that they used, and the technology they used to capture it, the 4K, and the way they rendered it and all that stuff. Personally, I think that it actually did happen as far as the rocket launch and getting to space, and then the rocket falling back down and leaving them up there and basically just falling down. So they were weightless for, I don't know, a few seconds or a couple minutes or whatever. And now they're all insisting on being called astronauts because they were literally in space for like 2 minutes or whatever it was. They're insisting on people calling them astronauts. I would definitely not go that far, personally. So here's kind of what I just kind of looked up real quick. I wanted to see, you know, I watched it. I watched the whole countdown and launch and liftoff and all that stuff just to see what happened and how high up they actually went. They went 62 miles, but they weren't calculating it like that on screen. It said 350,000 feet is what it said. 350,000 feet. So I said, okay, well, how far is 350,000 feet? And that came out to about 62 miles, which is what they're saying. 327,000 feet is 62 miles. So that checks out. And that is what I saw, that, okay, they went 350,000 feet up. Now, that is not low Earth orbit, and you cannot see what they showed from the windows, in my opinion, from low Earth orbit. Because if you see the capsule and what's supposed to be happening in the capsule when they're weightless and all this stuff, it doesn't really make sense. Like, it looks like they're in orbit. So I think that part of it was CG. I do think that they were weightless, but who knows how they got there. And it may not have been that trip. They may have been weightless by some other methodology. I don't know. They have other ways to film people in weightless scenarios. To me, they could have done that part of it with the women in the capsule at a different time and then cut that into the video, because that was not shown on the launch. They just showed the rocket going up, separating, and then coming back down, and then the landing of the capsule back on the ground. And people were getting all upset about, okay, well, the capsule doesn't have the burn marks on it from the re-entry like it did with SpaceX, because you have the capsules from SpaceX coming back down. It looks all burnt up because it came back through the Earth's atmosphere due to re-entry and all this stuff. And this one came back down and landed on the ground. It looks perfect. Well, I don't think they were nearly as high up because they were never in what's called low Earth orbit. Now, low Earth orbit is actually 1,200 miles. They were at 62 miles. Little bit of difference there. Low Earth orbit is from 110 miles to 1,240 miles above the Earth's surface. Then you would get the wide shot of the Earth like you could see in in the capsule out the windows when the women were supposedly in a weightless situation. Yeah, the vomit comment. That's funny. I saw a harsh landing that would snap their spines. Yeah, I did too. I saw that. It comes crashing down. And the the lady who was narrating it said, oh, it'll be such a soft, pillowy type landing and no one's going to be hurt. And you just, you'll see a puff of dust and you do see all that, but it looks like it slams down to the ground pretty hard. All that could easily have been faked. I'm not saying that was real. I have no idea if it was or not. Then you had the whole deal with the door opening, and the door's super flimsy. They opened the door before they were supposed to open the door. In my opinion, what happened there was a miscommunication. They probably, if that was all fake, then they were wanting to walk out and become heroes immediately to the people who, the throngs of people waiting to see them. But they were waiting on the families to arrive in the vans. The families and friends who were coming in the vans to where the capsule supposedly was dropped onto the desert floor there in Texas. And they were waiting on the families to get there before they opened the capsule. So they started to open the capsule door, and then the lady said, no, wait, you have to wait, and made them shut the door again. And then Jeff Bezos comes up with a big tool of some sort and then pretends to hook it onto the door and unlatch the door like he's working at NASA or something, and then opening the hatch, and then they can come out. That's all completely fake, and that is on camera in 4K. I mean, there's no question that was all fake. So anyway, the whole thing was just totally cringe, and I thought, this is my sort of explanation as to what happened. I think it just went up and separated and then fell back to Earth? Yeah, I do think that's what happened. Were they in it? I have no idea. They may not have been. But what I thought of was the old Toy Story movie when it's just falling with style. That's what it was.
That wasn't flying. That was falling with style.
Man, the dolls must really go for you.
Yeah, as he says, that wasn't flying, that was falling with style. I think that's what this was, too. When you see, from this movie, Toy Story, when they're talking about Buzz Lightyear and can he fly and all this stuff, and he's saying all this wonderful stuff about his ability to fly, and Woody's calling him on it. He's like, he knows he's not able to actually fly, but Buzz thinks he can. And, you see him kind of do this massive flight here. I would play this with sound, but I can't because of the music. It'll stop my live stream. But you can see what's happening here. And many of you guys have probably seen this movie. So they're arguing about flying, and he's saying yes, he can fly. Woody's saying no, there's no way you can fly. So anyway, he goes through this whole thing where he jumps off of the end of the bed here. Not unlike the Blue Origin with the ladies on there. So he jumps off and he's flying for just a second, but no, he's actually falling. And then he bounces and he flies around here and lands on a car, which takes him through a loop-de-loop and then flies across the room and then hangs on a plane. The plane grabs him and flies him around in circles. And this is not that far off from what actually happened with the Blue Origin ladies. They weren't actually flying, they were falling with style, like this guy. Anyway, that's how you explain it, in my opinion. And then I came across this as well, and it's worth mentioning. And it says the Amazon Blue Origin logo flipped upside down is on the left, and the Baphomet, the devil, on the right, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Very, very similar. So this is the Blue Origin logo. If you just flip it 180 degrees, and then you get the upside down goat head looking Baphomet. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting and somewhat telling. And then this is the last piece of the Blue Origin thing here, and then we can move on. But I just wanted to show this Paul Joseph Watson clip, just a little bit of it here.
And this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training.
Oh yeah, the training was brutal.
Like, what did they do during their 2 days? Okay, here they are. Their tasks, they spent the past 2 days at facilities for Blue Origin going over preparations, according to Blue Origin's Ariane Cornell. Their tasks included practicing how to get into and out of the New Shepard capsule. You go in, and then you go out. Oh, once again, ladies. Okay. The group also practiced how to put on and take off their seatbelts.
And there you were thinking this couldn't get any more idiocracy until noted astrophysicist the Kardashians showed up to provide expert commentary.
The messaging that we keep receiving from the staff here at Blue Origin is don't film it through your phones, look through your eyes, be as present as possible.
Yeah, didn't take that advice, did they? Equally insufferable was much of the histrionic media coverage. Katy Perry, Gayle King and Lauren Sanchez go to space and back in historic all-female Blue Origin flight. Historic? Yeah, if you ignore the fact that the Russians did it 60 years ago. If by all-female you mean a bunch of celebs pissing about at the expense of the world's second richest man on a rocket built almost entirely by men, while a bunch of almost entirely dudes controlled virtually every aspect of the flight. Still, at least they officially got to put the ass in astronaut.
That was too funny. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. That was just a clip of the Paul Joseph Watson video here about the cringy aspect, the cringy nature of this whole thing. It's called So Cringe It Hurts. Anyway, yeah, I think the whole thing was very, very fake. Very little of it was real. I do think that there was a rocket. It probably did go up. It probably did separate and fall back to Earth. But again, it wasn't flying. It was falling with style. That's how I explain it. Anyway, let's move on here. I thought that was pretty funny. Sorry to spend so much time on it, but I wanted to address it just because I know either people had no idea that it even happened or people were obsessed with it. Paul Joseph Watson is hilarious. Yeah, bunch of clowns. They think we're all so dumb. Yeah, I think so too. Anyway, you can tell Bezos is trying to keep up with Musk. And there was a funny, I didn't pull up the clip, but you can find it. There's a clip of him walking around before the women came out of the capsule where he trips and falls down. It was hilarious.